Today we're talking about groups and segments within an audience. So I'm going to go ahead and click on an audience. I'll select the audience there. Now, within the audience, like I said, you have groups and segments. So there's a little bit of difference between the two. A group is a static group, meaning that contacts can be added to it or taken away from it either during an import. You can manually change groups for a contact. You can let the contact change the groups that they're part of within a sign-up form or a profile update form. But unless one of those things happen, those contacts stay in that group forever. So that is what I mean by a static group. Segments, on the other hand, are dynamic, and we'll go over segments in a little bit. So for a group, if I go ahead and click Add, I can add in a group by just selecting or entering the name of the group. I'm just going to put test for now. And then I can do an empty group or I can use criteria. So now when I use criteria, what I'm doing is I'm going to say, give me everybody in the audience that matches certain criteria and import those people or add those people to this group. It's a one-time add. It doesn't happen anytime other than during the ad process, but this is a way that you could quickly add existing contacts to a new group. I can turn this off and go back to an empty group, and then we have a public group setting. So public groups are just that. They are made public. So if you ask a question on your sign-up form or your profile update form and allow people to select interest groups, for example, maybe you call them interest groups. They're groups, but you can refer to them however you want within a question. So if you refer to them as interest groups and you say, pick the interest groups that you are most interested in, then the list of groups that will show up are only the public groups. No private groups are listed. And then you can give a description. So we're going to just kind of go past this. We have already added some, so we're just going to go into a specific group so you can kind of see what they look like. So within the group, you've got some stats that show up about that particular group, and then you have all the contacts that are listed for that group. I can easily click on that contact, see all their information. I can click on the groups within the contact so I can see what groups that contact is a part of. And I could just check the box. Now, when I checked that box, it automatically went to the server and updated it to assign that group to that contact. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off for now and go ahead and close that. So within a group, you can search for contacts based on tags or based on their email address. The other thing I can do is I can change the group from public to private or vice versa. And then there's some other things. I can view information. The information that is in here is really nice, especially if you either are wondering what the group is for, and that's where a description comes in handy, or if you need to get the API ID or account ID. Both of these IDs are used primarily for APIs. Otherwise, you can always rename the group and you can delete the group. So again, these groups are static, so these contacts are going to stay in here until you decide to do something with those contacts. Now, you will see that contacts will get updated. So these contacts are always a part of the audience. So as a contact gets updated, whether they get marked as undeliverable or unsubscribed, they will be unsubscribed within the group as well. Then you have the private ones, the private contacts, the private groups are just that. They're just private. You can name them whatever you want. They're going to be for internal use only. Contacts cannot control what private groups they are a part of. That is entirely up to you and your team of Tarvent users that have access to this audience to make changes. So you can name it whatever you want, add people to it as need be, and again, it'll never be seen by anybody else. So now we'll go into segments. Segments are dynamic. And what I mean by dynamic is you're going to set up criteria that says, give me everybody that matches this criteria. And when you use that segment, at the time that you use it, that is when we're going to execute those criteria to see who matches it. So for example, we executed the criteria when we went to this page, and you could see all the contacts that meet that segment criteria as of this point in time. Now, if I go in and change the criteria, well, then that's going to change the results that happen in here. Where this becomes beneficial with it being real time is that when you send out a campaign, let's say you schedule a campaign today to be sent out in a week, and you set it up to go to a particular segment. That segment, the count that you get when you schedule, you're going to get a count of contacts that campaign is going to go to. Maybe it says it's going to 5,000 contacts. But then when the campaign actually goes out, if somebody's profile changes, either through a file import, through an API change, or through a form, if anything changes, or maybe based on their behavioral criteria, if any of that stuff changes, instead of it being 5,000, maybe 5,005, or maybe 4,995. So it really just kind of depends on on what happens to the contacts. But at the time that the campaign goes out, so if I schedule it today to be sent next week, when it goes out next week, it's going to run that segment at that time and pick everybody up at that time that meets the criteria. It also includes your unsubscribes, your undeliverables, and those various things that would limit them to being able to, or exclude them from the campaign. So any of that stuff, it's all real time. So in subsystems, you will see where when you opt out, it takes 24 to 48 hours before that opt out actually happens. In our system, it's all real time, and that includes your segment. Now within a segment, I can go ahead and I can set up my criteria. You can change this criteria whenever you want. So we have criteria listed here, and I have it set as and, which means that all the criteria has to match. If I do it as or, then it's criteria 1 or criteria 2. So it's basically one of the following or all of the following. Now I can add multiple criteria, so I could say the email contains tarvent.com, and then I can say that the first name maybe starts with J. So I can do that, and it's going to say give me everybody that has tarvent.com in the email address and has the first name starting with the letter J. I can then add criteria groups. Now within a group, I can change the rule to be or if I want. So then it would say give me everybody that meets all this criteria and that meets one of the following criteria in here. So that's how the or and the and works. I'm going to go ahead and just remove that group. Now, we'll just delete this, and I'm just going to add another criteria in here. So then if I go down, so you've got all the standard fields, and then you have the custom fields. These are all the fields that you set up. And then you have activity. So activity could be like campaign activity. So I can say, give me everybody that opened, and I can say any of the last 5 campaigns, or any campaign within the last, and I can say 1 day, or 1 hour, or 1 week, or 1 minute. I can also change this to any of the last 5 campaigns. So, and then I can select a specific campaign. And the nice thing with the specific campaign is you don't have to select campaigns that are already sent. You can select campaigns that are in draft mode. So if you're getting this set up, you want a segment set up that will take criteria based on campaigns that are going to be sent in the future, you can certainly do that. So these behavioral criteria that we have in here, there's a lot of criteria that or behavioral criteria. So you can base it off of campaign events, journey events, form events, web page, site notifications, survey, and landing page. So there's a lot of events for all of those different areas of the system that we track events for that you can specify for your criteria. And all that criteria goes together to select your overall list. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel for right now so I don't save anything. And that's really how segments work. You can delete the segment from here, or you can delete down in the box. So we give you a couple different options. The same thing with info. I can view the info from here, or I can view it from here as well. Renaming. We try to give you multiple options depending on what's intuitive to you. So either you can rename from here, or I can click on the title up here and I can rename as well. And this is where you can add in your tags to add tags to your segment so you can use that for your own organization. With that said, that gives you the basics of segments and groups. and explains how those are different from each other. Again, groups are static, segments are dynamic and run real time when they're used. And that is within campaigns, within journeys, within every part of our system that implements segments. And so with that, hopefully that answers all of your questions about the two. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to us. You can call us, you can email us, chat with us, post a comment to this video, or whatever you like to get in touch with us. So we will be available to answer any of your questions. With that, have a great day.